No, I went into work actually. Like I had to go in went in for, what time did I start?
So work is ski patrol in Norquay?
It is, yeah.
Nice.
So I had to, we had a good, we get like little training here and there, which is nice. Like it's kind of perks of the job. Just so I went in it was my day off obviously, but like I went in and they had an ACMG guide called Mark Ledwidge, who was used to be a president of the ACMG.
Right, okay.
And then he just gave us some like a little presentation on inbound avalanches or fatalities more so. And it was all exclusively in Banff. Also like Sunshine, like Louise, and like Norquay too. But it wasn't always like fatalities. It was just like those kind of inbounds when it shouldn't have happened.
Right, okay.
I mean, the majority of them were like from 1956 to like 1980s.
Oh, okay.
So they're like all pretty old school. But I mean, obviously the one in West Bowl that happened recently was kind of up there as well. So
yeah, what was that again?
That was like I think one guy died and then like 3 were caught in the West Bowl. They just like ducked a rope and then like it was pretty gnarly. I didn't actually see the pictures, but they showed the pictures in the presentation. It was pretty gnarly actually.
Oh really?
Yeah, not nice. I wouldn't be one of
I
one of
wouldn't
those.
want to do that.
So yeah, like that. I think that just I think it's culminating in our own rescue that we're gonna do as a ski patrol. So which is more just like practicing. Have you ever heard of like Recco?
I just don't know if I do know. What is that?
Recco is like it's things in clothing. So it's just like a reflector.
Okay, maybe I have actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I think people describe it as like a life. It's like life saving. It doesn't replace a beacon, but it's like if say you get lost in the woods in the middle of nowhere, and you can get on like helicopters. You kind of get like a big Recco thing, and it emits a signal, and then it's like basically like a beeping, it's similar to a transceiver, but not quite a transceiver.
Right.
A little bit harder to use. It's more relying on like a beeping sound, and then so like they use it a lot in the Alps, but mainly for like a little reflector. You usually can get it on ski boots now, pants, like ski jackets and stuff like that.
And is it just like a piece of material effectively?
It's like a reflect. Yeah, like probably like a piece of metal. Like to be honest, you don't even need like a Recco like transceiver or like chip on your clothing. It'll pick up anything metal. So like we're practicing in Norquay sometimes, and you hear a beeping, and it's actually like a metal pipe running under the underground actually that you're picking up. So
wow.
It's like it just picks up. Say if you're not wearing any Recco or like a transceiver, like they can pick up ski boots or your buckle on your boot and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think now if I have anything that is metal. I'm like, I don't even know if zips.
Yeah,
maybe?
Totally.
I don't know if my zip's metal though. I think it's all probably.
Like even a cell phone, like if you're running like a cell phone like that, like that's definitely something that it would pick up. So technology is crazy now these days.
So is that kind of almost overtaking like, not overtaken, but would that be comparable a little bit to like your like transceiver for like AST gear?
Well, that was kind of the argument that Mark Ledwidge was saying, was like people were almost thinking now, is this going to be like people are just going to replacing a transceiver, but it's not.
Yeah,
like
it's
much more like it's harder to use. Like he was saying like how he kind of asked, he's told us like that he was asking Parks Canada Rescue like what would you say you need to like work on, and it's like the Recco rescue is like something that every resort and like people need to understand and become better with. I think I don't know, more and more people these days feel like they might want to be using like pushing the boundaries and like pushing the boundaries of a ski slope. Like it's going to potentially happen more and more these days, I guess. Like especially I think last year the year before last I think it happened was like it happened because not as much snow, so people were going to go and push the boundaries to find extra snow. So like this year like could happen much more.
When you say push the boundaries, do you mean like people actually ducking the boundaries?
Yeah, like taking risks more so. Like taking risks to get the better snow that they think that they understand. So like being able to like those potential like accidents could be more prominent, like happen more often now these days, I guess. So yeah, I think that. So yeah, Recco is definitely a weird one, but something that I getting used to and doing.
How did you? I'm just going to let you bump that like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I think it's okay actually. How did you even get into ski patrolling? Like, how did you? Because you were a ski instructor at Norquay when I first met you.
Yeah, totally.
And then how did you how did you get into that, and then how did you transition into?
Well, it was like, so I mean, ski school. I think you, as you kind of knowing your background too, being ski school as well, like I think it got a little bit like tiresome, like especially at Norquay. Like I think each hill is different, but like Norquay is super good. Like you only got paid for the hours, like full wage for the hours you did. So I did 2 years of Timberline, as you kind of know, and as a ski instructor through those years, and then sort of was lucky to get into sort of a program managing side of the guiding company for 3 years, and then kind of felt that I wanted to sort of do something different. I kind of felt that I kind of needed to get a little bit more of an operational side, whether or not that was like in a tail guiding, like a mechanized skiing, so like heli skiing or cat skiing, or in a ski patrol side of things. And I felt like ski patrol was something that I wanted to try, just give a go. Like I feel I've done all of the wilderness first aid 8-hour course, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll just give this a go to try and like
use it.
Exactly. So one of the guys I did Timberline with, Ben Gunter, like he was someone who I felt who'd actually succeeded pretty well with at Norquay in terms of like avalanche forecasting. He's gone pretty well into it, and one of the more senior patrollers there now. So that was kind of like a little bit of a draw, not necessarily like because he was as high as he is, but just more that it was like, Norquay is kind of considered the weaker hill, I'd say, in a lot of like aspects around the Bow Valley. So I just wanted just a little change of scene. I realized I'd come to Canada to ski. Yeah. So like, I think what better way to do that is like ski patrol. So threw my name in the hat and luckily was drawn from it. So. And
what do you need? Like, so the wilderness first aid that you had, and then your ski school experience, were they like enough to get you into the ski patrol, or is there additional stuff that once they're like you have a job,
totally
you need to do this?
Yeah. So you need an AST1. Is I think is like base. I think basic standard is like AST1 and maybe even just 40-hour. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure on the wilderness or the first aid side of things, but at least like I think it's a basic 40-hour. Maybe it might be even 80 hours.
Yeah, so it goes up to
So. So just those two, to be honest, and then you don't even need to be like a ski instructor to. Like you don't have to have any form of ski instructing for it, but you can too as well.
So you don't need like a level of skiing, because you know how you get. Like,
no. I mean, they kind of assess you. they pick you out pretty quickly if you can't ski. Yeah. So.
Is your skiing, were you level 3?
No, not level 3. No, I didn't quite get to that stage. But, it's definitely a cool experience. Being able to ski pretty well is kind of good too. Like being able to ski any kind of rubbish which gets thrown at you. I've been, some of the skiing at the moment has been pretty shocking.
Yeah, how has every time I look up at Norquay, I only see, I don't know what the run is on the other, the one that you see closest to town is on the other side.
Yeah, Boundary Bowl. Yeah,
Boundary Bowl. Yeah. That's always my gauge.
It's to be honest, like to be fair to Norquay, it's done pretty well for like it's.
I haven't been up there at all.
No, like the snowmaking's been pretty good. Mm-hmm. So like other than everything else is terrible, but like the actual skiing is pretty good. On the actual pisted runs. So I don't know, Big Chair. I don't know if it'll open for another month or so.
Oh, has it not been open?
No, it's not even open.
I kind of just wrongly assumed that they were opening it because Lone Pine. As I say, I'm only looking at it from town.
Totally. Yeah, no, I'd say like probably another month maybe. We need another 15-20 centimeters of snow.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, so. They did like lots of shrub like cutting of like shrubs, bushwhacking and stuff. So which made it even worse. I think like it's kind of like almost like bumps and stuff in it. So those shrubs are like mines. I skied down it a couple of times and it wasn't fun. So kind of survival skiing.
Yeah.
So
And then I guess has it been like maybe an obvious question, but then going from being like a ski instructor, where it's all about like guest experience. Well, I guess it's still about guest experience with ski patrolling, but it's very much like the extreme end of guest experience where you're physically trying to make this person feel better.
Yeah, it's for me, like I think it's funny. Like I'd say one of my weaknesses is my first aid. I'd say my customer experience, like customer is pretty solid. But it's funny actually. You say that like the first. As everyone kind of knows, the season's been really slow to start off with. So Norquay was like, as you know, again, always the first one we want to open as early as we can. Yeah. And it was the last to open. And then so Cascade was just this run that kept on was the only run to be open. And you kind of get to understand how to look after customers who like you watch them come up the chairlift, and like this person's going to struggle.
Oh, really?
So
Yeah.
and then you basically call them like a courtesy ski. So it's either a courtesy ski or a courtesy toboggan if it's like super. Like you can't get a skidoo up there, but Cascade you can mostly get a skidoo up there. So you usually just like kind of put them on there if they don't ski. But yeah, like kind of taking it back to the ski instructing, like I feel like I could take anybody down like Cascade, back, and help them down. So a lot of the time it's just like, oh yeah, just follow me, and then and that works quite well.
So when you say the people, like what is it about
Oh,
them?
it's always the grey helmets. Yeah,
is it? Like the rental helmets?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
rentals. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, that's the main one. As soon as you see the grey helmet, you're like, oh, got to watch this person.
Yeah, I remember even like when I was giving lessons a couple of times, like I think I only did this once or twice where I was giving lessons and I had this person and I was like, sweet, you're like nailing this in the bunny hill, let's go up Cascade, which to you and I and other people who are like not even like amazing skiers but just like past beginner level, like that's nothing really.
No, yeah.
And then I remember a couple of times taking kids up and then they got to the top of Cascade, which is a super mellow, flat, long run down. And they were just like freaking out. And I was like, I had to like shift my perspective to be like, to kind of try and see it from their point of view.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, how can you not do this? This is like, you could just put your board and just go straight.
Yeah, honestly, watching some people too, just like, I think they watch this, I can't remember what instructor called them, but they're like the kids who like just like arms out completely open wide, just go straight like a shooting star. Like they're kind of like shooting stars just going straight down. And I mean, like I remember watching one kid, like it was just only Cascade open again, just riding up the chairlift. This kid from the top of Cascade right down, probably like what is 2 meter reach run, probably top to bottom. And then there's like this like little Vex fence, like an orange plastic fence, just hit it, did a full rotation. And like I don't know how she didn't like,
Was this year? Or was
this year? Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it kind of happens every year,
Yeah.
I think. But like this one kid, just did a full rotation, and I was like on the radio, I was like, we're probably going to need someone who's going to check on her. And she was like totally fine, just crying obviously.
Yeah.
But she was like, I hate skiing. And I was like, well, obviously,
Yeah.
I hate skiing. If you're going to just go straight. So
yeah. So remember when I was there, like, so I wonder if when I was there, I don't know why it wasn't there, but there wasn't a fence at the bottom of it, but exact same scenario.
Oh, really?
Girl shooting down. You would have been there. I don't know if you were there that day, but the same year that I worked there.
Yeah.
And a girl went like into the trees.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
There was.
And I remember like she was flying and her dad's like screaming behind her, and you're just like,
Oh God.
It was kind of one of those ones where like, you're watching it and it's hilarious at the time until you realise that she's like literally not stopping.
Yeah.
And then I don't really know what happened.
I know we've had a couple of those again still and find their way down to the trees, which is again like they have to go over like another cat track and a bit. So
You must be flying.
yeah, it's scary.
So you haven't had to have you had any like major things with regards to ski patrol and like
No, luckily not.
broken legs and
Knock on
stuff?
wood on that one for
Don't you know
sure.
what is major? Like, is that a broken leg? That'd be to me that's major,
well,
but I don't know if ski patrol and you're
No,
like, oh yeah.
broken legs probably like a moderate.
Yeah.
Yeah, like moderate kind of like we call them like classes. So it'd probably be like a class. It depends how bad the break is as well. Like it's probably a class 2. Like they maybe need them to take them to like an ambulance. Like maybe if they fractured a femur, that's like a class 2. But maybe like there may be a small fracture, so it might be a class 1. It might be considered a sprain, but they actually fractured it. So it kind of depends on like a lot of.
So what are the other classes?
It's class 3, which is like.
Unconscious.
Someone's pretty much dead, like close to like bleeding out, CPR. Like I mean, again, like it's funny, kind of having been ski instructors there, and you kind of hear of these accidents. Like now I look back at them and playing them in my head, like, oh, what would the the action call have been? Like, oh, this would have been in class 3. So like I think it was a couple of years ago. I remember some guy had like a heart attack and it was like a CPR.
Yeah.
So that would have been like a class 3 kind of thing.
And as a class 1, like people who are just like they just don't want to ski.
Yeah, we had. I think we've had ones like a 0.5 too. So like,
is there?
It's so funny. It's quite interesting. Like, I don't know if you ever broken anything.
My elbow, but like 25 years ago, probably.
Yeah.
Like when I was a
wee boy.
I can't remember. I just remember getting.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like it's funny you think about pain, and like people never hurt themselves. I think I don't know how many people have ever hurt themselves like to the point where like, oh yeah, that's that properly hurt, like a 10 out of 10 or a 7. So yeah, we usually go to someone like, oh, how much are you hurting? And it's like a 7 or it's a 6 or it's a 3. And like I think unfortunately it's the people who haven't really picked up skiing before, or like not. You can kind of tell again how it's always perception, isn't it? Like you look at somebody like, again, the grey helmets. Like you look at them and like, oh, these are people first timers, never skied before in their life. Maybe have they ever really hurt themselves properly? So they might get somebody who's like scratched their hand and they think like they think they're gonna die, but it's actually probably like a 0.2 if you even class it as like that. So
that's so true. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Like if you never had a major injury, then I guess it's to you it's probably like a 10 because you've never had anything worse.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
That's
So
true.
it's hard for people to contextualize their pain and like treat it, again, customer satisfaction. Like you treat somebody, if they're saying they're hurting as much as they are, you're like, okay, I'm going to treat you as if you're hurting that much, but I know that you're not hurt as bad as it is. So that's again, like there's always like recommendations that we have to like give to people. Like it's just kind of like when it comes to client care, but also as in like if someone comes and sues us and says, oh, you didn't give me adequate care, basically. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And do you find like with the ski patrolling, I assume like being a ski instructor would actually improve your skiing over ski patrolling? Because ski patrolling, I guess, is more about the reacting to like a scenario as opposed to being an awesome skier who can get from like A to B.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd say like,
I guess unless it's in like trees and stuff, then you can't really make your way there.
yeah, in ski patrol, you kind of got to ski everything. Like you got to ski everything and anything. I mean, like we don't really have the terrain compared to somewhere like Sunshine or Lake Louise. Where you'd experience like some almost like backcountry like snow, like in their big free ride terrain. Like that snow's against the elements. Whereas we're kind of, I'd say, more under the ice. Norquay is always known for its ice, so like icy conditions and like skiing like low snow years. Like I remember like completely double ejecting a couple of times already this season in just like really hazardous or like just low snowpack basically.
Yeah.
So where those sharks come out of nowhere and just eat you. So
yeah, I remember when I did my level 2 course at Norquay. I think is it Gun Run, the one that's like fairly steep of a Mystic? Is that right?
Gun Run's on that big chair.
Oh,
there's
right.
like FM2. There's a bit Black Magic or is it a Groom Run?
It's a Groom Run, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But like one of those ones, like one of the kind of blacker steeper ones. And I remember we were doing our Cassie level 2 there, and we were like, it was obviously the riding part of it, and it was icy, and mate, I just knew I'd failed it because I one, I wasn't good enough, but 2, it was pretty icy, and I was just like no edges, and I was like trying to turn, and it was just like
oh yeah. No, I tell you one of the most interesting things. I found it quite funny. Like I'm always a little bit of a guy who, or I've always been a person who is a little like scared. Not saying scared. I'm just nervous. I just like have a little bit like of a
sensual mortality.
Yeah, like oh my god, this is gonna be a bit kind of nerve-wracking or like scary. But like skiing a toboggan down with somebody in the back. Like skiing those down like Rob's like
Oh, you would come down that with someone.
Yeah.
So when you say a toboggan, you effectively mean like a stretcher. Like a stretcher
exactly.
That you have behind your skis.
Yeah. So they like have how they call it like haunt. Like I don't know how to describe it. I don't know if this is gonna be the wrong thing to describe it, but like in like the Asia where they have like those guys who like pick up the wagon like and just cart you on with the wheels.
Right, okay.
People sit in the back.
Yeah, no.
Anyway, like I'd say like it's like like a
not a rickshaw, but something
similar. Yeah. Anyway, they have like they've got these like long sort of metal horns on them, and you kind of stick yourself in the middle of like in between them, and then you have the stretcher like as you say like sort of trailing behind. So
and is it usually like someone in front, someone at the back, or could you just be could just be you bringing that person down behind you?
So I think again there's like a lot of protocols with it as well.
Yeah.
So like
I never thought of that. Man.
Yeah. So like doing that is kind of scary.
Because like what happens if they tip out?
Well, they're usually strapped in.
Okay,
So it's I would say
Well,
that's
how do they roll over?
well, there is lots of like things. I mean, like having two people is kind of the norm. Like, in other resorts like Lake Louise, they have sometimes have one person because they're so busy. Whereas Norquay is not very busy, so like we are able to sacrifice an extra body to kind of like tail gun, as they call it, with a piece of like it's a piece of rope attached to the back, and then somebody's there kind of just kind of helping slow it down if it needs to, but mainly the person at the front is like is controlling the speed down. So yeah.
And do you get any training on that, or are they more just?
Yeah, you kind of like
can't
get a
imagine
brave like ski patroller to sit in the back and just it's trial by error basically. Not really trial by error, but yeah. And again, to be honest, it was like I think those people like ski instructors might know what it's called, like brickage, where you basically like turn your legs and you just like body's just facing down and you turn your legs and kind of slow it down.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of an interesting way to take somebody down for sure. Scary though, actually.
Yeah, I would definitely imagine,
Yeah.
especially if it's like, I mean, because I'm envisaging like everything being like a green and a blue. I didn't even contemplate that someone would have an accident.
Yeah. I mean,
most likely in a black.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
And then you get
it's funny. We've recently done a fair bit of stuff with racing. Like we get like a lot of FISC racing, ski races, and they like we have to like some of the more well organized races. They're like underneath the World Cup events that haven't happened at Norquay recently. So what they did is like they soaked the whole run in water and just obviously made it ice. So it's like an ice run. And so like trying to take somebody down that if they did crash or like cut themselves up at the run would have been we didn't luckily didn't happen, but like it would have been it's kind of a scary thought.
So what was their thought process behind making it an ice rink?
Oh, it's just ice is quicker.
What?
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's scary stuff.
Yeah, because I remember when we used to watch the ski racers, they would almost like ski all the snow to the sides.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they want to push it all the way.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So is that just because I was a snowboarder, not a skier? Is that because like obviously the ice is faster and their edges can obviously just catch it, so they're not worried about?
That's it, literally. Yeah, like snow slows it down. So yeah, you could literally see the ice on the ground. Yeah, it's kind of scary to look at.
That is scary.
Yeah. So trying again trying to take somebody down that on the toboggan. Yeah, scary, really scary.
I would almost be like, can you guys do this?
Yeah. No, totally, in a way, for sure. I mean, we have like different types of kit. Like I've seen some ice screws in here. So you screw it into the ice technically, and then on a steep section of the run, and then kind of work them in, get them into the toboggan, and then go down. So
damn, that's wild.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So it sounds like you're enjoying it then.
It is interesting. Like
cool,
I think it definitely. I'm enjoying it. Just so again, being in a team, like having team banter is always fun.
Yeah.
And there's like different skills as well. Like so much of what I've learned over the 6 seasons I've been here, like it's finally like kind of not so coming to fruition, but like I'm learning things and gaining those sources or those skills that I've learned previously into like this one job basically.
And you were saying, are you trying to like channel that into a more like operational kind of career? Is that what you were thinking?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's probably the way to go. I would like to go. I think so. I think as we've kind of spoken to about before, like getting permanent residency, like still being that's kind of been one of the crux of my whole existence here in Banff.
Yeah.
And so like I feel like I haven't been able to move forward just yet. So I mean, once that kind of subside, I've left that successfully, and then I can now move on to something else. Then it's a kind of an interesting thing. Like I don't know what your success with it right now is, but like when you start to think about if I'm successful here, like the world's my oyster.
Yeah.
Like I think so for me, whether or not where I go from there, I think is kind of quite up in the air. But I'm something like one thing a minute I'm thinking like I could do this, and then the next minute I'm like I could do this.
Yeah.
I think there's so much more with like where I am. I kind of left myself in a good foundation to kind of go from there. But yeah, ultimately like ski guiding would be fun.
Yeah.
Getting into that kind of scene.
Like more like you were saying about the mechanical skiing, so like cat skiing and heli skiing.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
That would be like the land of dreams. I think they call it something like that. But,
okay.
That'd be pretty cool to try. But like I'm really open to quite a lot of everything really.
Yeah.
We'll see where that ends up.
Yeah, I read. You heard that book Buried by Ken Wiley?
Oh no, I've seen it, but I haven't.
Yeah.
No, I haven't had it.
So I read it like maybe a month or so ago, and that's the one that Jeff was in. Jeff was in the accident.
Oh, is he? Yeah.
Yeah. So he was in the accident, and so the guy refers to him in the book, but it's some like random last name.
Oh really? Oh, because they didn't want to hide it.
Jeff just said at the time he was like, he was like, I didn't, and he's still to this. He said at the time he just didn't want anything to not to do with it, but like he just didn't want the he just didn't want the media attention.
No.
So I think at that time there wasn't media attention, and this Ken guy has drawn a lot of attention to in an educational purpose. Like he talks about it and writes a book about it and shit. Whereas I think Jeff was just like, I've kind of processed it and I don't want to, relive it. It's my understanding. Anyway, I read this book though, and I'm not gonna lie, I was like, sweet, never want to go ski touring.
Right? Yeah, and honestly, it's
amazing, but it's also like, I mean, that book's the ultimate extreme example of how bad it can go. And I'm being a little bit silly saying I don't want to go ski touring, but definitely makes you appreciate that there's so many like human factors still involved in it.
Oh yeah, totally. I think it's kind of. I think sometimes when, as some people like at Norquay, it's kind of quite a quiet time. So you get to kind of sit in the hut and like, especially when it's cold, like what am I going to do with my time? So I read. Yeah. So I've been reading a bunch of like interesting books. I'm going to fuck the name up, unfortunately. It's kind of like autonomy, and it's basically like about risk management and like processing. Have you heard of like the like thinking fast and slow?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly. Daniel. Yeah, totally. Him. The book very much references his like those his case studies in that, but then puts it into an avalanche context. And that's so much. Cool. Yeah, it's really interesting to kind of understand, just like building more of like a bias, like understanding your biases. In that whole sense of the word. Yeah.
Well, that's what. So in the book, that Buried book, effectively, like, there's actually only a small portion of the book where he talks about the accident, but the rest of the book is more about his life and him personally trying to like. It's more about him as a person than it is about the specific accident. But anyway, the very last like chapter, if not page of the book, he effectively turns out, spoiler alert, but turns out and is like, I believe this accident happened because of the dynamic between him, who's the assistant guide, and the owner. And he was like, we had a terrible relationship, and therefore I didn't feel confident communicating my worries because they had been like rebuffed like time and time again. So like when we were going in this terrain and all my instincts were telling me it was wrong and my training and stuff, he was like, I just kept quiet because because his bias, I guess, of being like, this guy's going to just ignore me. So what's the point?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it's like stories like that too. Like you kind of like start. I find it. I always get kind of taken back to. Like those stories. I'm actually reading another book too, which probably has this accident in it as well. I don't know. It's called Avalanche Accidents in Canada, and it's from 1997 to 2007, and it basically goes through every single accident, or not every single one, but like it gives you a very big overview of like what happened and like the coroner's report of like of the overall accident itself, and it takes me kind of back to aircraft crashes and investigations. I know this is kind of scary, but how like they have a database of every single crash that's ever happened. And then it's for like the pilots to then go and have a look and see like what did they do wrong and what they didn't do wrong. So like kind of allowing yourself to read those accidents and like get information on what happened and the biases and like the risk management and the thought process of each of these people is I think is a really good way to kind of build your own perception of what you're like in the mountains itself. I think it was so I just touched on the planes. So I'm not a massive fan of flying. Like I can handle it, but I'll be totally honest, I handle it by having a few pints before I fly. Right,
if it's my time to go, it's my time to go. It's very immature. I should definitely learn to handle flying sober. But anyway, I randomly, this only like last week, I was on YouTube and a video came up of like a flight crash, but it was like a deep explanation of how it happened. And I was just like, oh sweet, like I'll just watch this. So I don't hate flying enough to not be. So I watched it, dude, ever since then, my YouTube has just been like
Oh
all
no!
plane crashes.
Oh god, that's the worst.
So I've just like consciously been like,
Ugh.
don't want to see this, don't want to
Yeah,
see this.
yeah. No thanks. No.
But the again in that book, so the buried one, the guy was talking about so same thing, same guy. So what happened was he was doing I think he was doing like his full Alpine guide course or something like that. He was on the course, and this is what you're saying about people using their biases and perspectives and stuff like that. And the course instructor, he said, I'm just going to drastically simplify the story, but effectively, him and a bunch of people were getting tested. They had a course instructor, and they were out ski touring somewhere, and he was playing the role of one of the guests. But the guests in this scenario are the instructors who are getting evaluated. But one of them's in charge, and they're not supposed to like help him out. They're supposed to be dumb little guests. But anyway, he's like, I'm looking around everyone else on the course, and he's like, everyone's like exhausted because we've multiple days, and he was like, he was just like, this is a terrible, like we shouldn't be here, like this is going to lead to an accident. And he eventually like raises his opinion to the instructor, and he's like, hey, we shouldn't be here. Like I think everyone's super tired, but there's also the dynamic of like the person who was running the person who was supposed to be the instructor at that moment in time. He's kind of like stepping on their toes because he's supposed to be just letting them run it, but he was just like, this is a bad idea, I'm raising it even though I shouldn't. So effectively they end up pulling it, and he said that he spoke to a couple of them afterwards, and they're like, thank God you said that, because we all thought the same, but we were all in this situation where we could. But anyway, then what happened was, but he got in trouble for it, and the instructor, I think, had called him out and was like, you've kind of like, you made me look like an idiot or something like that. Anyway, the following year, same instructor, so not the guy who wrote the book, but then the instructor that was evaluating him in the story previously, the following year, he was doing another course, had another group of people. They again were going to go out somewhere, and they were in a hut, and they were like, the people who were getting evaluated were like, we shouldn't go out, like the conditions are really bad, like blah 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 blah. But the instructor was like, no, like we're going out, like definitely going out. And they go out, and he ends up dying.
Wow.
The instructor like get hit by something. I can't remember if it was like snow or rock.
Wow.
And the guy was just like, I think it was just how that guy used I think he was making the point that he thought the instructor had used his bias of like, no, like we must go out, like course, as opposed to like looking around and being like, oh, actually, taking it all in.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, like not just with skiing or with like so many things in life. I think that's why I don't like flying. It's like, it's all about like, there's so many human factors involved.
Yeah, I think flying is an interesting one.
Yeah.
But I think there was an interesting in this. I think it's Bruce Kay is the name of the author. So at least if anyone was interested in what like something in autonomy, Bruce Kay, something like that. Anyway, it was talking about how looking at base jumping as a kind of a comparison. So it had like you're using sort of luck as a way of gaining experience. So you imagine you have two buckets. So you got a bucket full of luck, which is water, and then you got a bucket which is experience. So as soon as like obviously base jump, we all know base jumping is kind of a ridiculous thing. Like how can you really train for maybe there's surely ways of training for base jumping, but like you jump yourself off a cliff and you deploy your parachute, everything goes right. Is there a certain amount of luck that has happened in that? Okay, so but in the same time of that successful jump happening, you've gained a little bit of experience. So you like think about it, like the more of that luck that goes drains, the more experience you get. But then maybe you then think about all of these other terms coming in. There's like, oh, like I'm everything's going right, so I must be doing something right. But maybe you're doing everything wrong without realizing it, and it's just been luck. To the point that your bucket runs out of luck, and then something goes wrong. So it's kind of a very interesting like thing to think about. Like obviously, I think for myself, like I don't think whenever I'm doing anything in the mountains or ski touring, I don't think I'm basing everything on luck. But I'm sure everybody at some point in their life has had a moment where they need that bucket relatively full. But
sometimes I think to myself, like, how many scenarios in life in general have you been very close to like a serious accident? But you're not even aware of it.
You don't even know it. Yeah, it's just interesting because again, like, goes to, I mean, the whole, aspect of skiing in general. Really, is like
Yeah.
is luck, and yeah, something in a way luck, I guess. But
Yeah, I think that I've definitely said this before, but I think I might have even told you this, but like almost when it gets to the end of a ski season, I actually go less because I feel like I've got
yeah,
away with
yeah, yeah,
not having a major injury.
totally, yeah, yeah. I've it's funny actually. Like think, I think it's so funny. Like I would consider myself a relatively decent skier, but
Yeah,
like
definitely.
lovely people. I'd love to go and like chuck a 360 or like be able to do like a backflip and stuff.
Yeah,
But
me
like I
too.
think the older I get, the more I'm like, oh, that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know. Whoever knows what happens at 50 years old and you can chuck a backflip. But what I mean is like, I always consider how far I'm into the season. So like I'm like midway to. I still got we got relatively still like a relatively long
Yeah.
amount of season. Why would I want to chuck a backflip and it goes wrong and then I'm bedridden for the rest of the season with a broken whatever. But I think that it then pushes it further down, as you say, like getting to May where you like done the whole season. Like the spring season's always where I like I can go and push things a little bit because there's not much of a season left. But for me, I'm always like, well, what am I going to do in the summer if I'm like injured with like a broken arm and stuff like that? So yeah, it's always it's funny when that kind of stuff comes to it.
Yeah, my uncle used to have a motorbike, and he had it for a long time, and then maybe like just under 10 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, but he's a really keen snowboarder, loves snowboarding, he goes every year, but had a motorbike, and then he had an accident on it, but it wasn't even that bad. So he was coming up to the top of a hill, but on the other side of the hill there's a line of traffic, but you couldn't see it.
Oh gosh, yeah,
So he comes up. So I don't think he was going particularly fast.
Yeah.
But like he's on a road, so he's going fast enough. Gets to the top, literally sees the traffic at the last minute. So comes off the bike. I think the bike goes under the car in front, but he goes across the road.
Oh my god, wow.
And again, totally fine. Like he's he's got leather stuff on, so he was like, no. I think he scratched his hand, but totally fine. But I remember I had chatting to him about it, and he was like, "Yeah, but if there was he was like, didn't happen, but like if there was a car coming, I would have been fucked."
Is that, have you ever seen like Curious Case of Benjamin Button?
Yeah.
Like
I've actually not seen it. No, but I know what you're talking about.
There's that. I think there's this. Oh, hopefully everyone's seen it by now. But there's this one particular bit I think of the film, if I'm remembering it right, where like his lover dies. But it's like the film starts about how somebody was 12 minutes late for their appointment, driving in the car, and then his lover had like accidentally forgotten her ski keys, so she had to go back to go and pick them up. And then all of this like timeline, had all of these things not happened, it would have been fine. Yeah. But because that person was late and because she had to go back, all of those, as you say, like if it was all different place, right time, different time.
Yeah. So. Well, yeah. And then my uncle ended up, he never rode again after that.
Oh, really?
But because he was like, I enjoy snowboarding way more. He's like, I enjoyed like this more than I enjoyed the occasional
right.
trip.
Yeah.
But I know, what's that thing called? It's called, Ashton Kutcher was in a movie about it. Butterfly Effect.
Oh, yeah.
And like one small, inconsequential thing can have like a dramatic effect later on. Yeah, a classic, really common one is probably just like your phone dings while you're driving and you just look down at it for a split second and then, you may get in an accident.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing though, like when your uncle's saying like what, having a an almost like near miss, you could call it, but like realizing like it almost broadens your mind a little bit more to everything. I think that's kind of quite an interesting thing to think about too, to be fair.
Again, touch wood, like honestly, like one of my a massive fear is like because you're the same as me, like you're very outdoorsy, or not even necessarily outdoorsy, but you're very active.
Right.
You were rock climbing today, and then you're skiing and doing bunches of other stuff, and I'm just like, mate, imagine you get in an accident and you fucking lose an arm or a leg. And I know people do amazing things after the fact. Yeah, right. But having got to our age now, I think you would. Maybe this is a negative thing in my mind, but I think I'd always just be like, but when I could do all that stuff. Yeah, and I think I totally agree with you. Like, I'm not. I don't think I've ever done a backflip skiing ever. Don't even think I've even tried it.
Yeah, no, I think I tried a 360 in my second season and then I injured my shoulder and I was like, I don't think I.
Yeah, no, I know. Have you? Yeah, I was going to say, have you ever had like a proper injury? Or?
Well, a couple.
I know you had hockey.
Well, injury, I mean, we were talking about pain tolerance earlier. I think, my worst one was like being smacked in the eye. That was pretty crap.
So what happened there again? You played field hockey back home?
Played field hockey, yeah. I
Then
think
UK was
Canadians
called
will call it.
hockey.
I call it hockey, but
Yeah, I know.
Canadians are like, what is
Yeah.
hockey mean? Like, no, yeah, field hockey. And it was it's pretty more brutal in in the UK and Europe. A bit more popular in the men's side of things, at least. Yeah, like I was playing. It was actually so funny. It's like talking about things which is not serious. It shouldn't be in a serious game. It was a friendly, and there's there's a way in which you can come in at like a wrong side. It's like kind of checking. I think again, I'm not really sure about ice hockey, but I came in from the wrong side, and this guy swung to hit the ball, and then his follow through hit me in the face.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was a proper bad injury.
Yeah.
Which I ended up losing like 50% of my vision in my right eye. Like
To this
permanently.
day?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, so
didn't know that.
I picked up the
What
the diagnosis. So right eye, yeah.
Right.
So basically, like it's so crazy. Like everything my left eye sees fits everything together. So I see perfectly fine.
Right,
Like
okay,
right
right,
now, I
yeah.
see fine. But like if I covered my left eye, I'd see it start getting a bit blurry.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's
Damn it.
yeah, it's like whatever. Something like I had like 660 vision or something like that. So like I think it's what somebody would see at 60 meters, I can only see at 6.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's kind of pretty bad. Yeah, not good.
Wow. I mean, it doesn't seem to. I mean, obviously, that's the kind of first time I've heard of it, but
Yeah.
it doesn't seem to have affected you too much.
No.
From the outside, because I've never heard you ever mention.
No, it's like literally like nobody would know.
Yeah.
And I would only know obviously because I can see it, but also like it's just if I get tired, it kind of I get those floaters and things like that.
Yeah, mine's just like I'm kind of the same where like I don't know what, but one of my eyes is like one's perfect and then the other one's slightly like. I don't even want to say bloody. 'Cause I remember my sister's actually got bad eyesight, and I remember saying it to her, and she was like, "Shut up."
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm the same. Like if I cover one eye, like it's totally fine. If I cover the other, it's kind of bloody. But together, they're just like.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's brutal.
No, yeah, not even glasses fixes it. They're like the only thing that was just fix you was like stem cell surgery, which I don't even.
Yeah.
That. Don't even. Yeah, it would just make it worse.
Yeah. That's the thing. Where like I was chatting about this with a friend. Mate, see if you had all the money in the world, like I honestly probably would just go to wherever you can get stem cells and be like, fucking jack.
Yeah.
Up.
Well, it's like, have you seen a film about the guy who wants to live forever?
Is that the guy? Like he's a real person, and
Yeah,
he's just
yeah.
And he's trying to anti-age his body.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have,
I
yeah.
can't remember what his name is. That's
American-
pretty. That's a lot of stem cell stuff in there actually.
But also, like, I remember, like, I watched, like, I think I watched a YouTube thing on him for, like, really briefly. And I remember, I think it was a day in the life.
Yeah, right.
And then I remember being like, mate, this life seems pish.
Yeah, totally.
Like, it was like, because it was like, get up, do this thing,
Oh my
take
gosh,
these meds.
yeah.
It wasn't like, hey, like, get up and, like, live your whole life and then do these things. It was like, his whole day was the purpose of, like, extending the quality
making
of
sure
life.
you could live longer.
That's
Which
right.
I mean, are you really living that? Really?
Yeah,
I don't think you are. Like,
definitely
I think you are really if that's the life that you want to lead. But.
Yeah, and I think certainly as I'm getting older, like I am slightly more conscious of like having a good quality of life later on, and I say that because I've kind of had like an on and off, like back and hip thing. It's got worse, definitely got better, but still here. So I've had it for like a couple of years. So as I say, like terrible like a year ago, and now it's like really good, but it's still there. And it's kind of like so the first time I've had something that's like kind of been like long term. And I'm like, man, like, I'm assuming that it will get better. Like, I'll continue to do the right thing.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, fucking hell, man. Like, imagine being, like, 50 and...
Yeah.
And it maybe gets worse. Or having something or making a mistake when you're young and doing something. And then,
Yeah. Oh, it's such a funny thing, like longevity, you know? You're like, you want to be trying to do everything forever, but
I know.
there's always going to be at some point where you're not going to... I guess it's always trying to feel like you are going to do something with your life, you know, going and working out, for example. You're like... It's just the best way to do it and stuff. But.
Well, I think that was the thing that definitely I've changed lately is that all my injuries and the one I just included there have come from like doing stuff I didn't need to do, i.e. Weights in the gym.
Oh really?
But, like, just like dumb weights.
Yeah.
Not like dumb as in like crazy heavy, but like evidently too heavy for me because I injured myself.
Yeah.
And then I remember like, but I love doing weights when I was growing up, and then I think as I've got older and I've more like done like I love like running, swimming, triathlons, like snowboarding, etc. I'm like I way more prefer this stuff than like doing the weights. And
Yeah.
the weights, I still do it now, but like I drastically have reduced like what I'm doing weight wise. And what I do weight wise is to support my body so that I can do the other stuff.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think like the older you get, them, you know, you see these people who like, I remember my granddad trying to like get up.
Yeah.
Like,
Sometimes I feel like that.
It's just like you need to. That's what you got to keep doing. You got to keep doing those stomach crunches at some point.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I also injured my knee. This like, I mean, it's so funny. I don't know if have you ever like just injured something? And you're just like, oh, it's fine. Like I'll just walk it off. Like I think I think men in particular. I don't know if men. Maybe I shouldn't say that. But, like, just like. I think some people just like injure themselves and like, oh, it's fine. I'm actually fine.
Yeah.
And I remember. I think I don't want to say if I tore my ACL, but like certainly I ultimately have torn it now. I'd say, but like it's probably not intact, like the best intact it's been.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember doing it in my second season, and like just again like that question I always thought to myself like how much pain was I in like out of 10?
Yeah.
But like just again a nonchalant kind of like skiing, like kind of white out, and then. I just ended up like skiing, like fell over, my ski didn't pop off, and then just like felt like searing pain in my knee. And like, you know, where you like, you know, you've always been in like, I don't know it's funny how people take pain like in different ways. Like I used to like try and like run it off, you know, like, you get up and it's like, oh, I'm fine. It's like, so I remember just like injuring myself and then just like kind of trying to run on the spot, just like bending my knee and just just like can remember it's like just when you just want to take back time that thing just didn't happen. So but yeah, no, I didn't. The first time I didn't think I tore it completely. Maybe like stretched it, and then it was never like the same. And then I did playing ultimate frisbee. I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you were there.
No, I don't think I was there.
Yeah, I ended up like happened to pop again. I was like, oh, that's the same thing. So that's the other injury. Yeah, knees and backs and stuff aren't great.
Yeah, Again, like when I did I pulled my back like doing weights like years and years ago, dude. I took like a week off, and then literally the next week, didn't even like ease. I went straight back to like. It was just like, you know, I kind of cringe at how idiotic it was because I'm like, like now. So like as I say, I had that like that clothing thing from the pool. Like I took an extra week off. I probably could have gone back last week, but I was like, you know what? I'm taking a week off just to like make sure that this thing is healed. Whereas like younger me would have been same as you. Where I'm just like, nah, just like get stronger. You know what I mean? Whereas I'm like, nah, let the pain go, and then like ease yourself into it as opposed to just being like, I'll go and do exactly what I did to.
Yeah, I feel like self-preservation is not a thing sometimes.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was like Cass, so definitely doesn't apply to guys exclusively because Cass, we were doing playing a Six Glaciers tea house hike.
Oh, yeah.
Which isn't that hard at all. And it's not that long. It's like maybe 3 hours out back. Maybe. Yeah. And anyway, we were like literally like minutes from the tea house, maybe like 10 minutes or so from the tea house. And Cass like rolled her foot, but I didn't see it. I just heard her behind me, and I turned around, and she obviously was like sitting down. I've like really hurt my ankle, and I was like, oh, like, do you want to? I can't even remember what I said, but effectively she was like, nah, it's sweet. Let's just keep going.
Oh yeah.
And she was kind of like, to her credit, she wasn't like umming and ahhing the whole way.
Yeah.
She was kind of like, it's a little bit sore. So I just totally like forgot about it.
Yeah.
We get back to the car, and she takes off her boot, and it's like fucking all purple.
No way.
But then, and I was like, why didn't you like say it? Like we should have gone back. And she was like, we were literally nearly there.
It's biases.
So, I know. No, I know. I know you're not like that. But
no. Just like in terms of like mental things.
Yeah.
We're 10 minutes to where we need to be. Like,
just keep going.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was listening to. Actually, was listening to a podcast today on like the first people to summit Mount Everest. But anyway, they didn't talk about this on that one, but you know, I've heard about it before where like people say that a lot of people like will die because they are unwilling to turn back. They're like, we're so close to the peak, if you will, you know, Everest or whatever the goal may be.
Yeah, that's it.
And then like me, like again, like so I did an Ironman a couple of years ago, injured my back again for the 100th time. But like to the point where like I couldn't it was really weird. It was like certain movements was like totally fine, and then I would turn a certain way and it would be like a shooting pain. I did it like 8 weeks out from the race. Mate, there wasn't even I didn't even contemplate not doing it.
No, wow, really?
And I was like properly like I couldn't like I had to like totally bring down the training, and I was like effectively just like swimming and cycling because running was like too painful.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
you know, now in hindsight, I'm like, fucking just don't do it and do another one.
Yeah.
But you know, in your idiotic like
Like,
whatever egotistical brain I had at the time, I was like, nah, I can't.
it's
Like,
fine.
and
Do it.
but now I think, you know, I think also though as well, like injuries to a degree can kind of be a blessing because I have changed like the way I work out and like
Interesting. Yeah.
like what I want to do because I've been injured.
Yeah.
Do you mean if I hadn't injured myself, I'd probably be doing the same shit?
Yeah.
Whereas
Totally.
because I've injured myself, I'm like, right, sweet, let's just scrap all this.
That's a good.
Like,
good
what
way
do I
think
want to
of it.
do? What's going to help me get there? And then just fucking...
Yeah, you're realizing you're doing exactly the same things that you're kind of doing, but like in a better way for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you had a hockey background? Did you never think about getting into ice hockey?
No, I can't
Nah?
skate.
Oh,
I hate
true,
skating.
Totally different, I guess.
Well, the only reason I hate it is not because I'm not very good at it. I
Yeah.
usually do something with it. I hate it because I'm not good at it.
Yeah.
So I never got into ice hockey. Yeah, no, I even the sticks are too long as well.
Yes.
The sticks are much longer. Like hockey's weird. Like you can't use. There's only right-handed hockey sticks in field hockey.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, really?
But yeah, it's different.
So if you're left-handed, you just have to play right-handed?
Yeah, exactly. You do see some people play like with the wrong way around, but like obviously there's like not obviously, but a field hockey stick is like purposely made the way. Yeah.
So why is that? Why wouldn't you just?
Surely
that's
my dad will be shouting at me, telling me that there's a reason why it is, but
Right,
I
okay.
can't remember exactly what it is. I think it's
That's
just like
wild.
I think it's actually just I think it's partly because it's just not for injuries. I think like so like say you're like someone playing with a left-handed stick. I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe.
Or is it like if someone had a left-handed stick and someone's got a right-handed stick?
Yeah,
they,
it's a
like,
little bit
collide or
different.
something
Yeah,
like
something
that?
like that maybe.
Damn.
But yeah, I'm not really sure. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Not sure why.
Do you miss playing it? No,
I actually do sometimes. Actually, I think like it's kind of one of those. As again like I played a relatively decent standard actually. So like it was definitely I was pretty fit for what I was doing, and I think it's a fast game and like playing. I mean here you don't really play many teams. I don't play many team sports, so like I think it's something I do kind of miss in a way for the fitness aspect, but also for like the tactical aspect of it. But so yeah, every now and then I'm like, oh, that'd be nice to go back and play. But yeah, now like again like thinking about injuries, like my knee right now as it is, it's like it's okay fine to ski on and things like that.
Yeah.
But to then go and play like a really like quick sport like that, I think I would last seconds really.
Yeah, no, well that was the thing. So I'm doing a lot of swimming, which is totally fine for your back, really.
Yeah.
It's been fine for mine anyway, but I was doing like Muay Thai for like a year and a half, and I loved it. And then, but I haven't gone back. So even though my back's like is probably okay. Because I still have days where it kind of like not flares up like it's painful, but like I get like this ache. I'm just too scared to do it because I'm like I know that swimming is fine, so I'm too scared to kind of like which I don't want to be. Like I would love to get back into doing what I was like. That's the one thing I don't want it to stop me from doing what I want to do. But obviously you need to be realistic as well. And
being realistic about things is key.
Yeah. And did you stop after that injury you had, or
no? I didn't. I went straight. I can't continue playing. I was out probably for a month.
Right.
And then
it's not even that long.
Yeah,
really.
not even that long. It was crazy how quickly it.
Did you know the guy?
No, I didn't know. I didn't even speak to him afterwards. Like I kind of knew one of the guys.
Did he apologize?
I don't really remember.
Oh, really?
I was kind of writhing around in pain.
It's
quite funny. Like I remember, like kind of just like lying on the floor with like blood coming out my face, and then like kind of sit up, and like they've just got me sat up, and then everybody comes into like, kind of crowds me, but then they these guys who are like probably the first aiders. It was at University UE, like Bristol University, like not Bristol Uni, but the other Bristol Uni. Anyway, and they could hit, like at their sports center, and the guy's like, I don't know if his like eyes like there, like and I can hear him, like obviously my eye went instantly like swelled to the point that you couldn't see, I can open it,
right?
Like Rocky Balboa basically, where it's like it's like that purple kind of thing, and the guy's like, I don't know if it's there, and like I can hear him. I'm like, dude, I can hear you saying like where my eye is. Like, where is my eye there? Like, it's not like hanging out of my, but seriously, it's such a funny thing to think.
You're like looking at the ground.
It was like really much.
That's why.
Anyway, month out really where
So funny.
like I remember the guy, like when I got to hospital, they like tried to open my eye up like to see that it was fine, but like it was crazy ordeal really just to have that. And like it was amazing how quickly it healed as well. It probably took 2 weeks before like the swelling had gone down and like kind of like the bruising had gone. So then like the next game, as soon as I came back, again almost smack in the face again. It was wild. I was like, remember this guy like hitting the ball, and it was like kind of getting that slow motion kind of thing. You're like, and like ducking again to make sure you get out of the way of it.
Yeah.
So it was so funny too. Like, have you ever had a tooth knocked out before?
I don't think so.
No, something I pride myself on is my teeth.
Right. Okay.
Like I think like I don't think I think about my teeth is just like getting them taken like knocked out. Like I'd hate to chip it or like anything like that.
Yeah.
So it was actually in, I think, before Christmas. I had my first injury, which I'd never been injured in hockey at all before.
Right.
Like the worst injury maybe I had was like an injured rotator cuff, so nothing like serious. But then like in December, a ball straight to my nose, like bridge of my nose, like again straight away broken it. Like I knew I'd broken it. I was like kind of like that kind of I don't know if you've ever seen The Longest Yard where they pushes like nose back in. I felt like just like clicking it back in. And I did remember like pushing it like together, and it was just like blood just pouring out my face.
Did you know to do that, or were you just
I was just like, oh my god, I was like felt I just like needed to push just check it was like kind of straight. Do you know? Anyway, but like it was kind of like a compression. It's not too bad actually. Like,
it was totally
although like my brother always takes the mickey out of me that it isn't straight. But
I'm just staring at it.
Yeah. I'm just like saying it's like is it actually it's actually a little bit of an angle, I think.
I've never noticed that.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure if I'd broken it. Like so the classic uni guy was like, whatever, I'm not going to go and get it checked. I'm going to go. I got obviously told to go to hospital as like anybody should do in that respect. But no, I was like, I'm not going. Went out on the night out, like in toga party, with like a massive thing over my thing over my nose. So yeah, I had like 2 little cuts on my nose, and that was that. So it was worst injury I had so far on my nose, and I was like, okay, I'm so glad it was my nose. It wasn't my teeth. My teeth are intact, like nowhere else. So, and then obviously next maybe a month later, after coming back from Christmas, like I get this injury with my eye, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm so glad it wasn't my teeth.
Yeah.
So there's lots of like luckily I never got my teeth injured, but then like had this MRI scan for my eye.
Head trauma.
And, exactly for my for my head trauma, and then like I'd broken the socket under my eye, and then like at that injury I had from previously, I had broken my nose from the.
And did they were like, oh, you've broken your nose before?
Well, yeah, I think the guy was like, oh yeah, it looks like you broke your nose. Like I was like, that's probably.
He must be looking at you like, this guy's like
hard nut.
Yeah, hard as fuck.
No, I'm kidding. No, definitely not. But So
do you have any sensation in that part of your face?
Yeah, it's all good. It's like, so you probably can't. You can really see it. It's got like a small like scar just on the inside of my eye. If you looked at me like relatively like face up, you could see it. But the other way than that is like it's all pretty solid. Like the guy was like doing like stitches and such just like by my eye. It was kind of scary too. But yeah, I was. It was funny. Like the first time I'd ever been in an ambulance before, so I was just like, I was like 10 out of 10 on Uber, guys. Are really good. Just like chatting a load of rubbish.
So funny.
So silly. So it was. That was a crazy experience.
Yeah.
And it's funny too. Like I think when you think about injuries again, like when you're talking about these serious injuries that could happen and serious implications, it's such a funny thing. I've never really thought about how the injury has affected me. I think if you say we walk out the door later on, unfortunately you lose your arm, like that's kind of a serious injury, and then like it's going to affect you for your whole life. And I'm sure there's aspects where you feel like, oh, what am I going to do out with my life right now, like as we kind of discussed. But like with this injury that I had, I've lived a life that I've never thought about it. Like I've never been like, oh, this sucks, like like it's because I reckon I think had it affected me a little bit more with my vision and things like that, then it would have been a little bit more of an issue. But because I don't experience it and I don't see it, it's I've just lived the life I've lived so far. So it's a funny one where you like that could have been A, could have been worse, and B, could have like, but like the fact it is what it is. Like, you can't do anything about it. It's like one of those things that happens. Like, just live it. Yeah.
But there's a guy, to make you probably feel better, there was a guy that I knew, he was like a friend of a friend, but like, so we were growing up in Glasgow. This guy was wild, really nice guy, not like wild and like, but wild as in like, if you went a night out, he was like doing everything, taking everything, like just crazy.
Yeah.
You'd get to an after party and he'd be there and he'd be like just on one. And you'd just be like, holy fuck, man. But anyway, I remember me and my mate had a house party. We hadn't had a house party. We'd been out, had a few people back. Anyway, mate, I had to like kick this guy out at like midday the next day. He just wouldn't leave.
Oh my God.
He was just on one. He just was like, I was just like, man, I need to sleep. And this guy's just like going wild. Anyway, but what happened was a week later. So after that, and that was my kind of, I knew of him because he was a friend of a friend, but that was my personal first interaction with the guy. But anyway, a week later, what had happened was he'd been in a club called Bamboo in Glasgow. I don't know if it's still called Bamboo, but I mean, obviously part of the name was fucking bamboo everywhere. It's like the theme of it. Don't ask me why. Anyway, what had happened was this guy had gone on his mate's shoulders and had fallen, and a bamboo stick had gone into his eye.
Oh my God.
And he lost his eye.
Wow.
So like, I can't remember. I wouldn't say his name, but yeah, mate, the guy lost his eye.
That's insane.
Like totally gone. Not like like his eye was gone. So
that's insane.
So he wakes up and I mean, I never spoke to the guy personally about it, but obviously because of the circle of friends, you kind of hear everything. But yeah, he like lost his eye, and it was just because he was fucking wild.
That's insane.
Wow. It was crazy to think about. Like, I remember thinking about that afterwards. I was like, him just being like that, and again, he was nice. It wasn't like he was a dick, but like him just being like this wild character, and now he's fucking.
Yeah, I wonder what his thoughts on it now are. Hey?
Yeah, I don't know. I've never spoke to the guy after, and I've never. I mean, I don't even know what the fuck. I don't know him well enough to be hey, so like, how did you feel about like totally fucking up your?
Yeah.
You've got one eye now for the rest of your life. But I remember,
crazy.
Yeah, all from just being drunk. And I mean, it wasn't even, I mean, I've been on someone's shoulders when I've been drunk. Like,
yeah.
But, you know, just, again, that thing of, like, one decision and then it ultimately changes your life. But, yeah, and then I was asking about your cheeks. So I actually have, I got in a fight, a handbag fight when you were kids. And this guy hit me pretty good, but he actually kicked me pretty good on my face, and I've got like, so you've got like nerve endings that run down your face like this.
Really? Okay.
And he effectively like burst isn't the right word, but effectively like frayed all mine here.
Oh wow, okay.
So if I like rub my face like just under my eye, like across my cheek, like I kind of get like pins and needles going down here.
Oh really? Wow.
Right there. This is maybe 13 years ago.
And you still have it?
Still have it.
Wow.
So I remember going to the doctor like a week later, and it's totally fine. Like seeing day-to-day life, I never think about it.
No.
But I remember going to the doctor like a week later. Because again, what you were saying, so I'd gotten this fight, faithfully like being assaulted, you know, obviously like bruising and all that stuff, didn't go to the hospital because you're just a young guy. And
Yeah.
Go. But I remember a week later being like, yeah, this is like, because it was, at that point, it was like pins and needles in my face.
Oh, wow.
And I remember going to the doctor and he explained it, and he said, yeah, they grow back like 1 millimeter a year, and he was like, it'll just... But as I say, this is like 13 years, and it's, I mean, it definitely has got better.
Yeah.
But I remember just being, and again, like, even now, I mean, mine is drastically less than like losing a percentage of my vision. But even now, it's funny how I'm like, at the time, I didn't even think like, I was like, oh, sweet, it would just go away.
Yeah.
And now, 13 years later, I'm like, oh, consequences of like.
Yeah, those kinds of injuries that you just don't think actually, I don't think it's necessarily affects you, but it just like, it's something that now you're living with for the rest of your life.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah. Oh, sweet.
Yeah, I remember getting. I don't know. It doesn't. It's still. I can feel it now. But yeah, I got like another hockey injury. Was like the ball hit my finger and just squeezed between. So the end of my finger like burst. Yeah. So like then I lost the sensation in that. I think while I was just touching it now, I can feel it. But yeah, I remember like that kind of the feeling of not having feeling, like the numbness is always an interesting, like I should be able to feel that, but you can't feel it. It's always
I know. And it's funny, I think when I was younger, I used to be kind of like a stupid badge of honor thing, I think, amongst my idiotic guy mates. Would be like, my face is like, but as now I'm just like, great.
Yeah.
Well, let's never go away. But I guess I guess maybe same as you were like it's never stopped me from doing anything. So
No, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
but I guess with the line of like work that you want to go into, like it's going to be pretty active. Like if you want to kind of get
That's it.
into
I mean, you know, like part of me is like, oh, if I have like this bad injury with my knee, like I've got to try and figure it out to maybe make it better. But where does that fit in with a plan, like a life plan? It's kind of like a funny old thing to think about.
So if you like wave a magic wand right now and you get your PR, like what would you think of delving into?
So good. It's so funny. I really don't even know. Like
I know
think
it's like why would you
such
think
a,
about
such
it
a
when you don't
funny
have it?
like I mean, you know, PR is like not necessarily just like a stress, but it's like it's a financial like
Oh yeah.
it's crazy hit as well. So like even trying to think about then doing I think actually, to be honest, the first thing I probably would do is just go and do the courses that I need to like to progress me further. Like there's courses that I should have done maybe 3 years ago that I just have never got around to doing because like why would I do it? I mean, you know, I guess it's more like learning and development for my own personal thing. But if I had to leave Canada tomorrow, then like how is it really going to help me get a job in New Zealand or like in the Alps, you know?
Yeah.
So like I think if you know with Canada being like the permanent spot, like now I can kind of go and do these courses and get that experience that then will help me hopefully go and take me higher really. But I think the other thing too is just like going and exploring more too, going and doing bigger trips of like ski touring and building a resume and things like that. It's just funny that you kind of you never really think about like going and doing big trips as building a resume, but it's different.
And the courses, is that stuff like your Ops 1 and stuff like that?
More no, I don't. I mean, it's more like ABSAR 2. I need to go and do.
So what is that?
So that's like advanced search and rescue.
Right, okay.
Like
is
the
that recognized?
or is it advanced search and rescue? Maybe like it's more advanced like techniques of like searching for in avalanches.
And is it recognized like globally or is it
more in Canada? I'd say. Yeah, I mean. I guess these things are recognized worldwide, but like it's not really gonna, you know, like it's funny. Like there is a British Mountainous Guide Association, but like it's such a random thing. Who would really think that there's that kind of like?
I've never heard of that in my life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like maybe they I haven't really. It's funny coming from a world where I knew nothing about guiding to 6 years later. Knowing a good amount of it about it now, like you kind of start realizing how much is back home. You know, like there are these things that you can do back home. Yeah. So, you know, there is a career path that you can do becoming a mountain guide in the UK, but I guess it's a little bit more restricting in what they do. You know, like I think you have to climb Ben Nevis, like and do some like short roping and ice climbing and mixed climbing there. It's very much more of a climbing side of things in the UK, which is not really my forte at all. Whereas like and you know the skiing's done in the Alps, so it's that's a kind of reason why I'd like to stay in Canada. And how I don't know if these courses would correlate back to the UK is the main thing. So it's just experience at the end of the day. So that's kind of really it. So the ABSAR, like I want to get a little bit more into the weather kind of side of things. You have to do an intro to weather. And then build a personal resume to go and like tick some objectives off to then apply to the ACMG potentially.
Because I think you can like, and obviously Jeff as was Mike were our full mountain guides, and like definitely like working for them, me for Jeff is like appreciating like how much like time and money
for sure in it.
Like, I'm just like it's kind of baffling at times. I'm like, how do they expect people to like work and because you need to like what you're saying is you need to like build a resume, but like you can only build a resume. Like you build a resume by going out and doing stuff, but you also have to work.
Totally. You got to fund it.
Sure. So it's this like weird.
It's true.
Thing where it's like I don't know.
No, and I mean, do you know what? It's funny actually. Like, I think I think with Mike and Jeff though, like everyone comes from a different background. Hey, like you know, you and I, people listening, like everyone comes from a different background, and I think I arguably would say maybe back in the day it was easier in a way, not to say easier to get the guiding, I'm not suggesting that, but easier to finance things. There was like, you know, ways to get money back easier. Things maybe cost a little bit less money. And then now these days, things are much more expensive. People are it's more popular. I think that's just you're competing with more people with who want to try and get into that sort of into that industry.
Yeah.
And do you know what, part of me is kind of not really. Maybe it might be to my benefit that I've taken as long as I have. Like I feel a little bit more wiser about things. I feel a little bit more that I'm just taking things as a time. I think coming to like Canada and doing the 2 years with Timberline, I felt that I was like I wanted to hit the ground running. I wanted to do everything I can to go and to get to a position that I wanted to get at. But then you kind of lose your the experience, maybe the experience, or you gain experience from being just in the mountains in general. You kind of that's how I've kind of felt, not jumping straight into things as maybe some people do, without really thinking about it and thinking that I just need to go and do courses. That's the way that I'm going to get to the goal quicker. Helps, but not necessarily. I don't think in my opinion, is not the way to do it straight away.
Yeah, I guess as well, if you're going into later in life, like you've evidently taken the time to choose. You've tried different things.
Yeah.
You're like, this is what I want to do, as opposed to like when you're younger and you just say, fuck,
it's such a funny thing. I mean, like, well, we're very similar ages, and I think we've kind of already lived a life before we even came here in a way. Like, like I did university, I did film production at uni.
Oh,
like,
did you?
Yeah, which is
wow.
It's a bit of a random one. Yeah. So like doing that and like, I could have gone into the film industry. I tried maybe a little bit. I could have tried harder probably, but I felt like Canada was always something I wanted to come back to and to do. And I think, who knew? Like if someone told me in 2019 or 2019 actually getting on the plane that I'd still be here, I'd kind of say you're joking. But, like it's just the way things are really, and
I've kind of been the same because I was probably a year behind you.
Yeah,
it's funny how I was like, I'll definitely do 2 years, and then it's like, and I guess I'm like maybe just under 4.5 years.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I'm like, I'm still here.
Yeah.
And I remember like I went to Australia before though, but I was there only for a year. And it's funny how like my memory of Australia it's not even like it doesn't feel like a memory. It feels like a movie that I watched.
Interesting.
I think because it was such a short period of time, and ultimately it's now maybe like 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And I do think like if I ever leave Canada, I don't think it will because I've been here longer. But I'm like, I wonder if like in another 10 years time with my memory of Canada, if I didn't stay here. And then come back, like would it also be like this weird movie in my head where you're like, I just did this like random.
Yeah, it's so funny. I kind of have the similar thought. Like, part of me, I mean, I got drawn from the pool relatively recently. So I was actually contemplating what am I going to do if I had to leave. I mean, I still could leave. Who knows? It's like I'm talking as if I'm staying here, but I don't know yet. But it's less so now. But like you think about I've stayed here for 5 years, and then like you have to stay. You can't come back again. Like you could come back, as we know, but like there's times where you think like, I lived 5 years in Canada. You think telling your kids, I did 5 years back in my day,
and it's
nothing
really.
So it's like it's not really that much, not much of a long time. Really.
I mean, if you live to hopefully you live at least till your 60s. But if you're 60 and then that's 60 years of your life, and 5 of it was in Canada. It's like a blip.
A lot, of course, So,
but in the moment, I guess like. And because I'm the same as you, where like I've had to flirt with the idea of leaving multiple times because the whole visa scenario, and sometimes I'm like, I think there's been a couple of times where I've definitely been like, I'm leaving like in July, making that up, and it's maybe like March, and I felt for that until my mind has changed again. But like, once the time that I was like, I'm leaving, I remember being like, wow, I haven't even really been here that long, and then maybe it was like 2 years at that point, which. 2 years to live somewhere is like it's a decent amount of time. But I remember being like, wow, I feel like I've been here forever. And then as soon as I was like, I'm leaving, I was like, fucking hell, man, I feel like I've just got here. Like, 2 summers and 2 winters.
Yeah, I mean, that funny thing. I was here during funny old thing called COVID. Like that happened in. I arrived in November and it happened in March, and everybody was leaving, and it was just like, I was like, what are people doing? Like I was just like, it was like that. Almost like it felt like it was a do or die moment. I think for a lot of, especially, I mean, for me, or people in like abroad. I don't know where you were when it
UK.
happened. Yeah. But I think for people abroad, it was like the exodus of Banff happened in March 2020, and
Yeah.
I think I'm happy I stayed. Like I don't think I would if had COVID not happened. I wouldn't be talking to you today. I think
No.
it's such one of those funny things that happens. But
yeah, the amount of people I know who were here and then they left and then kind of like shot themselves in the
yeah, I
foot
wish they
'cause,
stayed.
they couldn't come back.
Yeah,
And then,
yeah. So yeah, it's crazy times.
yeah, I definitely think with the PR thing is, I was asking you like what your opinion is and what you'd like to do. And I mean, I don't know why I asked that question because I know that like I'm in a very similar boat, maybe like a couple of steps ahead. But you again, not guaranteed.
No, it's it. Yeah.
And I'm like, it's hard to be like, oh, I'm gonna do this, because sometimes I'm like, okay, if I do get it and I do stay, and then I almost get to the point where I'm like, why am I even wasting? I don't want to waste time and energy thinking about it when I don't know.
No,
and I get my hopes up. They're like, oh yeah, like maybe I'd go here and I'd try this or whatever, and then it turns out you're like, nah, like.
Yeah. That's it. It's.
And then it's also hard to be like, so sorry, you were saying about like the finances of the PR as well. It's like, so I've got money saved now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's kind of like I'm saving this money, but I'm like, I don't know what I can do with it because like if I stay in Canada, then maybe I could be like, right, okay, I could save up for a car, or save up for a deposit for like a house or whatever. But then also I'm like, if I don't get it, then that money's pretty much going to get blown in like me moving home,
right?
Probably not having a job for a couple of months, having to get set up.
Yeah. No, it's crazy.
Yeah.
As you say, it's like that money is going somewhere, but you don't know where.
It's just you're kind of in this weird limbo where,
Yeah.
and I mean, like there's worse places in the world to be stuck in limbo. It's obviously beautiful here.
Yeah.
But I think just like and I'm going to use the word mental torture, but it's not that extreme. But like that kind of like, you're just like, I can't do it. You feel like you can't do anything, and I probably sound really ungrateful because I still have a really good job in a beautiful place, have all these other positives, but at the same time you're like, but I can't like make that next decision like you were saying about.
And like whatever, however, at the stage of life I'm in right now, it's like I do feel like it's kind of a do or die moment.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of, not do or die. I think that's kind of extreme state.
But
it's kind of a. I feel like a lot of people always want their life to be moving, like in a direction, and I think for me sometimes I'm relatively relaxed about it. Like, oh, maybe if this happens, whatever. But still, at the same time, like it gets to a point where you're like, I want my life to move on to the next chapter.
Yeah.
It feels like it's a little bit like turning the page and then the chapter's still going on and on and on.
Yeah.
And you just want it to kind of end to that a little bit.
Yeah, because I said that to my mum, and she was like, I'm just like, I'm comfortable, but I'm not like, I would like another chapter. And she was like, what did she say? But effectively, she was like, it's not the worst thing in the world to be comfortable. I was like, and she's totally right, and I know that. But I think, we're obviously probably similar. We're like, you're not just someone who like sits around. Like you want to be progressing and doing stuff, whether it's like just personal stuff, like your own like activities or it is work.
Yeah.
So I think when you kind of feel like you're a little bit like you are kind of standing still, but it's not your choice. You're almost like into this.
Yeah. You're waiting for that train to arrive, but it's still 5 minutes late and it keeps getting delayed. Yeah.
So you've obviously still got the full season left at the. Are you just ski patrol now? Or
just ski patrol, yeah. No, I think so. I mean, being drawn from the pool just allows me to at least stay until the end of the season. Yeah, I can push my visa until there's a decision made. So that's at least until end of May. So I can ski and work until at least the end of the season, which is nice.
Yeah.
So,
and then would this be, if all things going well, like would this be the first summer that you're not with the guiding company?
Totally, yeah. No, for sure, it would be.
Do you know what you would do?
I should just apply to a Via Ferrata actually, and
nice,
Norquay would be fun.
Yeah.
See if that goes to plan. That would be fun. I think that would be quite a fun thing to try.
Yeah.
Just go and yomp up that part of the mountain or part of the Banff National Park for a bit, which would be cool. I actually thought I wanted to try and. Have you heard of an IRATA?
I don't think I have.
No, it's called International Rope. I don't know, something International Rope Technician. Basically, it's rope for rope technicians. And that's quite a big, prominent thing. Not prominent, but quite a big thing in Canada. Like having rope technicians. So there's like, it's like a course you can take, again, like sort of experience, and then you can just go and work in industrial areas with rope access and stuff. So it's like more construction.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's potential plans. So.
Yeah, no, one of our guides, Braden, I don't think this is secret info, so I don't think I'm sharing anything that shouldn't be, but he's one of our, I think he might be a full alpine guide now, but when I chatted to him, I think he was an apprentice. This is like a couple of months ago, so I think he had his course coming up maybe this spring. Anyway, he's like he is a rock climbing guide, one of his many facets, but he works in film.
Oh, interesting.
Like in the summer, like, or just whenever. But I think the TV program or whatever it's been has been like running throughout the summer, and it's his rock climbing that's come into it. Cause it's like, you know, kind of what you were saying there was a little bit like technical. Like a technician, like setting up. I'd be totally lying to you if I was to explain exactly what it is, but effectively he's working as a rock climbing guide on these film sets, like setting shit up.
No, that's solid.
It's very cool. Like you would never think of it. I remember him and I talking about it, and you're like, you assume a rock climbing guide needs to, someone who is rock climbing needs to be a rock climbing guide or something like that.
Right, that's it. Yeah.
And then you chat to people who are in it, or you do it yourself, and you're like, like, could work in film and theatre, could work in health and safety, could work in like fucking skyscrapers.
Yeah. You know? So like cleaning windows.
Yeah.
A lot of money in that.
Yeah, no, I know. I definitely don't have that. I'm not a fan of heights.
No, I have to be attached to something quite a lot of the time. Yeah. And no, I think,
The Via Ferrata would be so
that'd be fun. Either here's me saying that and then potentially go into the Via Ferrata.
Well, there's a guy that, I'll see if I can, I was chatting to him the other day actually, a guy, Aaron Scheffner, so I don't know if you would know him, but he was definitely, he was a ski patroller when I was at Norquay, so you may have interacted in some capacity with him. But he's from Wales, and he effectively did what you kind of were thinking of, where he did ski patrolling, and then at Norquay he went into he applied to be a Via Ferrata guide, and they trained him for him. And
nice,
for summer. Mate, I think it was like sweet.
It's a cool job. Yeah,
it's like, very cool. Yeah.
Being outside is the fun part about it, I think.
Especially up there in the summer, because it's so nice and so quiet.
I was thinking funny though, like how much thunderstorms we get in the summer is quite funny. I think that's like a big thing, is like trying to make sure that nobody's on the...
There definitely was a couple of times, and I only did it for one summer. I worked guest services, so...
of course, I remember that. Yeah, totally.
So I was working guest services in the winter and then transitioned to the summer as well.
Yeah.
And so I worked there every day, and I think there was maybe like a couple of times where like people were delayed, but it was never like a crazy staying the night. And there was a time in the whole summer that I worked there was one accident where a girl dislocated her knee, and apparently like she was fine with it, but they had to airlift her off just because they couldn't, the guide couldn't get it back in place on the mountain.
Wow. Yeah.
And so it looked kind of bad because she got airlifted out, but when the whole group came down, they were like, it was honestly fine. We just couldn't get it back in.
Right. Yeah. So something like we're not allowed to. Well, Norquay in particular, because we're not really considered like this is ski patrol mainly. We're not considered like wilderness area. Like we're 7-minute like ambulance journey is from the Banff Hospital, whereas like Sunshine and Lake Louise are a little bit further out in the sticks. So like we're not allowed to administer any medication or like. Or even put anything in. So like some guy the other day dislocated his shoulder, and he was like, "Can you put it back in?" And we were like, "No, unfortunately we can't, because we're not allowed license to do that." So maybe the guy couldn't do it. I don't know. It might be different in.
I think he definitely tried.
Right,
he definitely tried. Yeah. I know that for a fact, because he was like, "I couldn't get it back in."
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, but I guess that's funny. I kind of assumed. Yeah, it'd be kind of annoying, almost like you dislocate it and then you're like. No,
can't give you any ibuprofen.
Have you had anyone being like, well, fucking what?
I don't know.
What you see?
I don't know. Yeah. No, not.
And is that just so? Is that because of the proximity from Norquay to the hospital?
Yeah, in that respect, yes. It's also, I think it's a lot of like insurance policies and stuff too. Like, I think you had to have like a licensed medic too, which Sunshine and Lake Louise do have. A licensed medic to do that.
Yeah. So did you know a guy, Joe Blitt?
No.
So he's English guy. I think he's English. Anyway, he was a ski patroller at Sunshine for a long time. But he's now a paramedic. He's our age, but he's now a paramedic. And But I don't know if maybe he had training to a degree. He definitely wasn't a paramedic when he was ski patrolling it when I first met him anyway. But he would, I think he used to like do quite a lot of stuff because yeah, he would tell me these wild stories of like, even now like I won't share them because I don't think he'd appreciate me doing it. But some of this, he would like tell me some of these stories, and I'm like, are you okay?
Yeah, yeah.
And he's totally
Oh my
nonchalant
God,
about it. He's
really?
like, yeah,
Wow.
nah, I'm cool. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, but are you
Are
actually
you
okay?
Yeah.
Just because I'm like, some of them are like, even for being the responder would be traumatizing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, cool. Like,
Yeah.
but every time I see him, his hair gets slightly grayer.
Oh, really?
I'm
Yeah.
just like,
I mean, you
your
know.
hair was like jet black when I met you 4
Yeah.
years ago, and now it's like nice and like salty,
Yeah.
salt and peppery.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, definitely the mountains definitely take the toll on not just the people who get injured, but the people who tend to them too, for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, like even with like we obviously both did Timberline, and you know, and the time that we've done Timberline, I don't know if there's any more, but there's obviously been 2 people that have passed away. Like there was that young guy
Yeah.
in the year, I think he was in the year that I
Oh
did it,
yeah,
but it was
yeah.
the year
I
after.
remember him. Yeah, totally.
Unger,
Yeah,
something.
yeah, totally. Yeah.
You know, he passed away rock climbing in Squamish.
Yeah,
I
it's
believe.
crazy.
And then there was a girl last year, the year before,
Mm-hmm.
who was ski touring. So she was part of Timberline, and then nothing to do with Timberline, obviously, either of these things. But then she was ski touring in Japan and passed away.
Yeah.
And again, like nothing to do with Timberline, nothing to do with like the fact they were here or whatever. But you know, you're just in this. I guess in this community of people that I didn't grow up with, that is like more outdoors and to a degree is that you're putting yourself in danger more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like back home, if someone fucking died in rock climbing, I'd be like, what the like I would be so out of my world.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
But as living here, you're kind of like, well, I mean, obviously that's super, like, I mean, it goes without saying it's unfortunate, but you know, you hear these things and you're like, well, yeah, rock climbing or skiing or whatever.
Yeah, it's a tough place, tough world.
I know. But then I guess it's like, do you just never do anything?
Yeah, I mean, you do what you love, hey? Like,
Yeah.
And I think, you know, the more you put yourself in these environments and like the more times you do something like we do, like, you know, yeah, like it's going to happen. It's not necessarily it's going to happen, but you're putting the probability of something happening is much greater.
Yeah, like if I do a ski season, well, I live here, you live here. We do ski seasons every year.
Mm-hmm.
We're obviously more prone to have an accident than our friends back home who have probably skied twice in the 4.5 years.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's true. Yeah, it's something you just don't really think about, but like, it is the case. The more it happens. The more
and I guess it's that thing that you were kind of saying earlier, though, where it's like you may be, it may be nothing to do with you. As in, it's just the wrong place and the wrong time. Mm-hmm. Someone else might be out of control behind you and they hit you.
Yeah. No,
like, you know, you hurt something, but I think those are the ones where you're like, yeah, you could just, and I mean, you could apply that to anything in life, driving down the motorway, like, like walking across the street, like you might have checked it 100 times and then, you know, someone else doesn't see you.
Out of nowhere,
Yeah. And it, like, I think, I don't know about your parents, but my mum was very much like, if I was like, oh, hey mum, I'm going skydiving, look, which I did once, her first reaction was just total, like, fear and dread.
Oh, really? Yeah,
She was just like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's definitely more, because obviously she loves me, you know, doesn't want me to get hurt, but I think I definitely had a mum growing up that was more like very cautious.
Right.
And it has ingrained itself a little bit in me.
Totally, yeah.
So I think as I've got older, I've tried to be a bit more risk averse? No, that's the opposite. That's being cautious, isn't it?
Yeah, I think
so. I've tried to be like slightly more risky. But I mean, like risky as
yeah.
Still not doing backflips.
Yeah. not doing backflips.
No.
Yeah.
So do you like when you get to the end of a ski season, do you try and do like a couple more?
No, well, it's always one of those like where do you start? Like, it's got to be the perfect conditions. For something surely. I don't think I haven't really been skiing in a particular time where it's been perfect conditions.
Yeah.
But
yeah, surprising how bad
I don't know.
the weather has been here.
Yeah, it's cold now.
Yeah, it's cold, but it's like still like a lack of snow.
Yeah, oh gosh, yeah, and I don't want to be doing anything into that. End up landing on a tree or something.
Yeah. So do you have any like goals for the winter season, or are you just kind of like?
Not really. Maybe just get out more, more ski touring. Do some traverses in the end of the season.
Have you done a lot backcountry? this season, or?
No, not much at all. I definitely not as much as I usually would do, but yeah, no, I just can kind of just taking it as it goes really this year. So I think the I kind of tried to see that I kind of waited to see how the snowpack would consolidate itself.
Yeah.
Now, after the new year, and it's still not as great as it could be.
So do you feel quite? Are you pretty confident? Like, do you understand the snowpack? I think that's something I definitely still struggle with.
Oh yeah, I'd say I do.
Is that something you have to do with obviously ski patrol, and you need to understand?
Not particularly yet in my first year. Like they do have an avalanche program, and like I do keep a BDI on like what's going on and like what how it's. I wouldn't say it's my morning paper, but it's like the newsletter I read kind of here and there, like just seeing what things are going. I kind of always have in my mindset of like what is happening. I mean, what's happening here in Banff isn't actually happening really where you're ski touring like Lake Louise or the 93 North, but kind of understand like seeing, oh, it's really windy today, or like, oh, we've had some snow, or we've had it, I go outside and look at the sun and it's hot and it's like you feel it on your face. Like those are all indications of like what's happening potentially on the snowpack, like elsewhere in the, that's again, as I say, like, an hour and a half drive away, but still just like those kinds of things are the things that I think about already going into the snowpack itself. And then just look at the avalanche bulletin as well.
What is the snowpack like this year? Is it?
Oh, don't ask me that question. That's a question. I mean, it's nothing.
It's not great.
I don't think it always gets destroyed straight away. Like as the classic Rockies gets a big basal faceting and depth thaw and stuff like that at the bottom of the snowpack, and then kind of consolidates itself relatively well at the top, but. So
what is that at the bottom? So you were saying. So what is that?
Like it's like basically like a rotten snowpack at the bottom.
Right.
That's usually what happens in the snowpack in the Rockies, at least here.
And by rotten, do you mean like just like tons of like the snow?
Sugar, like pretty much like you could like grab. If you grabbed a fistful, it would just like be sugar in it. You could shake your hand.
Right.
What you want is more very much like a almost to the point where it's like a really thick, hard pack snow at the bottom, and then it kind of just keeps going. It remains relatively hard all the way up to the top, where it's like kind of like a like fluffy snow.
Yeah.
That's how I would describe it, very basically.
Yeah,
like I think any person who knows what they're talking or knows what they're talking about would know that maybe it's completely wrong, but like basically you want a very strong snowpack at like a basic at the bottom, whereas we never really end up with a strong base. Like if you go to sort of like Golden area, like, and then beyond towards the west, like the coast, then you will see that as like a really strong pack. Whereas here we know maybe if we had a snowpack which was 2 meters deep, that would be considered a pretty decent deep snowpack. Whereas this year I think it's anywhere between like a meter to a meter and a half, which I mean is not too bad, but like like it's already been ruined from previous like our droughts that we get and like the cold weather that we have. Like when we see that snow coming in October, and everyone's like, oh my god, I'm so excited for the ski season. Like technically that's not the best thing, that coming in early. We want it coming in relatively late, set really nice and wet and nice and heavy, and then we keep on getting snow over the top of it. That would be ideal, but it isn't rarely happens here in especially this area where we like to ski. So.
And does it always rot? Like if say it had snowed in October and it had snowed like every week since then till now, which is into February. Would that snow in October? Would that have eventually rotted, or would the constant snow like have kept it?
Yeah, they would have been fine. Yeah, so like for example, like in like Rogers Pass or like somewhere like Golden or where it's a little bit more of a or I wouldn't say it's maritime quite, but like much more wet atmosphere kind of thing. And more snow, like that kind of snow. The more snow you put on top of snow, the more cohesive it becomes. So yes, to your answer, yes, it would, and that's where we see that more in like the bigger snowpack areas. So we get like the areas you get 3 meters, 4 meters of snowpack a year.
Yeah.
Like that's basically what you're looking at.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So but there you get more like persistent layers. So you get layers in which get sandwiched in within the snowpack. So I kind of like to describe it as like a Victoria sponge cake. So you have like your nice sponge at the bottom, and then you get your jelly, like your jam in the middle, and then you get you get more snow on top of it, which is the other layer of Victoria sponge. And then you can imagine it like how, I don't know, I'm a very messy eater. Like if I move that top layer, like it kind of slides off. Like that's
a really good analogy.
pretty much way of like describing it. So like they're like with those areas like west in the coast, you see much more of those persistent layers in the middle of the snowpack, whereas here we don't really get that a huge amount. Not to say we don't, but we do.
Yeah. So it's funny when you say persistent, for whatever reason, before you explained that, I was like, oh, that must be good. Like it's persistent. I was thinking like, oh, it must be like, I was maybe thinking like cohesive maybe is what I was
for sure.
thinking. So but persistence not great.
It's not good.
And is that just like, there's one day where like, I know that this would rarely ever happen, but effectively like it rains and it freezes. So then you've got this layer of like frozen snow.
That does happen. That can happen for sure.
Yeah.
Water and snow doesn't really go very well at all together.
No. Apart from ski racing.
Yeah, exactly. Unless it turns into ice and you can ski on it. I mean, sometimes you can, like, maybe like a layer like that can sometimes say randomly rains, and then like it creates this like ice layer, and then there's like a bunch of disgusting like persistent layers underneath, which are weak layers, and then you get a bunch of snow on top of that. It would be kind of like sometimes it can block the like any pressure, so it block any energy or kind of block that layer, if that makes sense. Like it from activating basically.
Yeah.
So that can be a good thing to have for a
really?
For maybe like a nice layer in there.
Yeah.
Which can happen. That can happen.
And so are you digging any like any pits at Norquay too?
No, I'm not digging it. No, that's again for the avalanche people to do. So I mean, to be honest, especially in Norquay, they'd be like no higher than what we're like 50 centimeters.
Yeah.
To be honest, unfortunately.
Yeah, so you probably don't even have a depth.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because I remember like being out in a few courses or just like a few ski touring days, and whoever I've been with has like dug a pit, and there's always like one aspect of like testing it that just seems a bit weird to me, or like seems very subjective, which is like, how they do the like fingers.
Oh yeah.
And then the fist.
Yeah, totally.
So what is that? What is that to test?
That's kind of checking in for the density of the snow, and the cohesion of the snow.
But like I always think, like, so the thing is, you use like 1 finger, 2 finger, 3 finger, 4 fingers, and then a fist. Is that right?
Close, not quite. So it's fist is like pretty light. So that's like.
So you're pushing your fist into the snow.
You're pushing your fist into the snow. So that means it's already fluffy.
Yeah.
And then you go 4 fingers.
Right. Okay.
And then 1 finger, and then you go pencil, and then knife.
Yeah.
Is what they. As you say, like it's a very subjective, like it's not very scientific.
Yeah.
But it's just a good way to kind of understand. And if everyone went and dug their own like pit wherever they wanted to go, like they'd see that layers for sure. Yeah. So yeah.
And I think it feels subjective for me though, because I'm always like, surely people like I might push harder than you.
Oh yeah, and that's it.
So then it's like.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like,
it seems like,
even the taps and the taps and the shovel. The compression test. So that's as long as you're doing it for the way you do it though. Like like say I went and did my taps, but I never changed the way I did my taps.
Yeah.
Then it's giving you a relatively accurate representation of information for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I may do it totally different, but because you've consistently done it the same, then therefore the range of
exactly
the range for like your okay, true. I never thought of that.
Yeah,
because I've always just whenever I've been with people, I'm like, it seems very like just very like subjective for something that is can ultimately be.
I mean, like they try and make it as scientific as they can, or like I wouldn't say scientific, but accurate, or like.
Like a uniform way of like testing.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah, uniform. Yeah, that's recognized throughout Canada and I think America too.
So the book you're reading just now, is it kind of like a textbook, or is it more like a?
It's more of a case study, I'd say.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I actually went to, the reason I read that Buried book was because I actually wanted to read a book on avalanches, and then just when I happened to be in the library, that Buried one was there, so I was like, right, sweet. I knew it wasn't going to be like a very like educational in the sense of like this is how you test the density and the compression and all that stuff. But I actually would like to get a book because I obviously don't go out a ton, but I'm like, I rely on other people like you or Jeff or whoever I'm with to be like, oh yeah, the snowpack's doing X, Y, and Z. Like, if you gave me all the information, just from a lack of education, like I wouldn't be able to understand really. I'd be like, cool, like that's got a big red bit on it. I guess I don't go there.
Right,
like,
totally. Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Like I think you look at people kind of going back to like the more courses I take, the more knowledge you get. Like it's definitely not really the case, but I think interestingly there was an avalanche recently. I like in the avalanche bulletin maybe a couple of days ago before the snow came. It was low, like a block of green, and kind of people definitely use that as like it's good to go. Anyway, these guys ended up knocking out like a site 2.5, I think it was, like along both the parkway. And that was again straight from where there shouldn't be any problems or any issues in it. Or I think
there's never
a never a no.
It's never.
It's never. Yeah, exactly. So these guys obviously found out the way.
Yeah, and did they just write about it? Were they just like, hey?
Yeah, they put like their own little like it's called like a mountain information network.
Yeah.
Which Avalanche Canada put out, and like they put themselves like a near miss. I think like one of the guys like lost some equipment or something like that. So and I mean like it was you kind of like start looking at how the formation of the terrain that they were in and stuff like that, and you're kind of like, okay, well, kind of makes sense maybe where they were skiing and like stuff like that. So it's never sure. Yeah, as you say, like you see people definitely just fixate on the colors and numbers and kind of go from there rather than looking at the whole thing and using like the like an intuition kind of thing. I think that's another word that they've been using in this, like trusting your gut even if you don't really know anything. Like if you have a bad feeling about something, like the biases and stuff like that. In that particular instance must have been pretty interesting to know.
Yeah, because I know like I've been out ski touring like maybe in the last, like when I first started doing it, and sometimes we would cross avalanche paths, which to me, someone uneducated on it, my brain is like, there's an avalanche path, why are we here if this is just but it had kind of just gone. So I might be right, tell me if I'm right or wrong here, but like because it's just gone, it's unlikely to go again, like in that exact spot. So it's kind of like, not that it's like obviously 100% safe, but like obviously if the avalanche has moved all the material down, then there's not a bunch of material that's all waiting to come back down.
Yeah, usually I guess that's like one way of thinking. That's a
very
a possibility. It's like a possibility that could happen, but there's still you never know. It's like one of those things. Like I think one thing again, reverting back to that incident, was they call it a step down. So like initially it may have failed on the jam layer, but then there was it was a double jam layer, and it stepped down to that other sponge at the bottom. So like it was a full that the weight and these layers it's very sophisticated. Like not complicated. I would say it's complicated, but to people who don't, maybe aren't aware of it, but the more load and more weight you put on something, eventually it's going to buckle. So that's what happened. Like, the avalanche happened, but there still could be other things happening underneath it, I guess, or haven't quite gone. So. And
before you came to the UK, did you have were you?
I'd never seen an avalanche. I think I'd never seen. Maybe I've seen one, maybe like skiing in the Alps once, but like. Yeah, I remember going on a uni trip, and it was a really cheap trip, and like one of them was like go like free ride skiing. And I was like in this mode where I just loved it. Like it actually may stem from filming aspect. I like love ski films.
Yeah.
I love the idea of like free ride skiing. I'd be loved to have seen what I looked like when I was skiing, but it was terrible. I think the guy even skied us down the avalanche path of like this like really bad, like it'd gone, and then like I can't even remember, but terrible skiing. regardless of it. But yeah, no, I'd never had much of an experience at all with avalanches before.
And
so.
here you are, what, like 5-6 years later, and you're like very well educated.
Yeah,
in it.
relatively okay with it. Yeah, that's for sure.
So how come you never pursued the film thing? Was it just because you wanted to try Canada and then you're like,
Yeah, I think like just new opportunities for sure.
And is it something you'd like to get back into? I know you do photography.
Yeah, potentially here and there. I think yeah, like Reading's kind of thing with jumping on films would be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I
have kind of. If you could combine the two.
Yeah, I kind of have like dipped my toe in seeing if Sherpa Cinema. Have you heard? Like I would love to try and connect with them, but
they're like they're kind of like the creme de la creme.
Yeah, they are. They're creme. They are creme. And yeah, I mean, like I remember doing like not case studies, but like written reports on like their movies and things like that when I was into the films and stuff, and then to be actually here with them, and like I remember meeting one of the guys. Actually, I was like, oh my god, he's like one pretty cool guy to know. So. But yeah, no, like not to say like it's one of those things that I may revisit. Like I enjoy the creative side of that kind of stuff. And
so what was it? And what was it specifically?
It was actually a really broad.
Oh, was
degree.
it? Right,
like it was everything. Like,
right.
It was from like production design to like producing to cinematography. So it was like I couldn't really pin anything on like what it was like specifically, but it was just a very broad degree.
That'd be very cool if you could like get back into that.
Yeah.
And combine it with like obviously what you're doing now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, I think everything. It's funny how like most things have been done now these days. Hey, like with filming, I don't know. Like ideas are always a thing to come up with. Something fresh and something new would be cool. But
yeah, definitely. I feel like especially in the active world, it's like kind of hard to almost be original to a degree. Whereas like who hasn't already done something that's like. Like, so obviously I did triathlons, and it's like, at first it was like, if you had done one Ironman, it was amazing. Now people are doing people have done like Ironmans for like 100 days in a row.
Right, yeah.
Or like, swim around the UK or name a thing, and it just seems like someone has already taken it to the extreme.
Yeah.
Like, and done a film about it, and you're like, so like to come up with an idea that's like original, that would catch people's imagination. Like, I feel like you need to be more creative now.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's funny too. Actually, like read the same book I've been reading. Like initially, the first thing was like talking about film, like ski films, and how they've just created a perception that I pretty well bought into the whole idea that I wanted to be like these guys who are skiing huge spines and like amazing powder and stuff like Powder Kings and things like that. And it's definitely not like hearing from other guides like Mike and things, and like hearing and other guides of his he's brought in who actually despise the industry. Like it's like an industry that's really like there's very much extracts from the whole from the book about who them just having this again biases as well about like this is what they need to do, and they're not gonna say let anyone get in their way of like them making this film for them.
Right. Okay.
And
right.
Subsequently people have died from like the athletes have been killed because of they pushed the boundaries too hard.
Yeah.
Even though the guide has said no, like you shouldn't do this, they still gone and done it because they want to get the shot. So,
yeah, true.
Yeah. It's a very so like it's kind of an interesting thing to think about when it comes to film as well.
Yeah.
And especially ski films, that's for sure.
Yeah, if you could get involved in like natural selection or something like that.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty. The FPV drones, I got into that kind of thing, but never. I actually broke it straight away.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and like I've never fixed it. So.
Have you got it here or back?
Yeah, I do. Because you can't fly it in national park. So I was flying it in my bedroom and then broke it, and then I took it home because obviously you can do whatever you want really. Well, no, whatever you want in the UK. But I remember just trying to do like a little flip with it and broke it, and then have never fixed it since.
Yeah.
So I tried fixing it. I think I shorted the with the electrics and stuff. So.
Yeah, I remember my friend. He had a drone, and he effectively put it up, and I think he was at the beach, or I don't know. He was somewhere. He put it up, and then he like hit the button for it to return to base. And he was like, mate, it literally went in the complete opposite direction.
No way.
Just never came back.
Oh my gosh.
But he had I think it was like 1,200 quid. So like.
Yeah, they're expensive stuff these days.
Like he had like a full GPS. He had it all logged, like all the GPS thing of like what had happened and where it got off to. and he gave it to the company, and they were kind of cunts about it, and they were just
No way.
They were just like, it happens, like, and I think he kept going and kept going and kept going, and they never gave him they didn't give him a replacement, and they never gave him the full amount. But
That's terrible.
I think they came to some form of some compensation, but it wasn't like, hey, we appreciate our product is broken, here's a replacement. They kind of
That's
pushed
wild.
back on it, but.
Oof. Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny. I guess I've never thought about what you were saying about the obviously it could be a little bit of contention between these filmmakers and athletes that want to push it to these extreme levels, and then the people who are like the safety people.
Totally.
Yeah, because I know Robbie, I can't remember his last name, but Robbie that was at Cloud9. I think he was the safety guy, and
he was in the safety guy, and I think this natural selection as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I think he kind of mentioned about how some of the athletes were very nonchalant about like avalanche safety, oh yeah, I've done it before, and I think that's tells a lot about a person with a character who, even if they knew everything about the whole system, about avalanche itself, I would never be like, hey, this is, I'd listen. It's I think there's something to that, which even if you know everything about, you hear it a million times, brushing it off is definitely not the thing to do. So.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've only done my AST1, and even if I was doing a big, say I was doing a hot trip, or something that I was going backcountry for a couple of days, I would honestly probably do a refresher, because I did it 4 years ago. I've ski toured since then, and I've revised it with Jeff, the morning of, but. Yeah, I can't imagine, and that's me just going into somewhere that's probably going to be really safe to go there. It's not natural selection terrain.
No.
So for these guys and gals to just be like,
yeah, I think even with a heli skiing operations these days too, they have to do it's part of the health and safety, and probably even the contract with those companies that they need to do some form of avalanche rescue before they set out into the helicopters into the day and stuff.
Because was there not an accident with CMH last year? I thought there was.
Oh yeah, there was. I think there was maybe even a couple. Was it last year? I think it was last year. A couple of guys died.
I was thinking that as well.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, because I think
they were pretty big high up American people.
I think they were.
Right.
I remember we had a group. This is a couple of winters ago, but we had two guys who were supposed to come ski tour. No, a guy that was supposed to come ski touring with us. And I'd been emailing this guy back and forth, and then a couple of weeks before you're supposed to come, I think his wife emailed. But in the email chain, and I remember thinking at the time, I was like, oh, that's weird. His wife emailed me when I've been emailing him the whole time.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, she was like, hey, I can't remember his name, Jack. He was like, Jack. She was like, hey, Jack's not going to be able to make this trip anymore. Is it possible to get a refund? And I, just customer service. So I'm like, yeah, that's no worries. Is he interested in doing something else? Blah, blah, blah. And she was like, oh no, he passed away in a accident. And I knew what it was, because it was in Revelstoke, this maybe 2 or 3 winters ago, where there was an avalanche, and it was snowmobiles.
Oh yeah,
and there was a couple of guys killed, and he was one of them.
No way.
And I was just and this is someone I've got no association with.
Yeah.
All I've had is an email communication, and even in that small connection with this person, I remember just after the email being like, fucking hell,
that's
man,
such a
that's
bad,
wild.
terrible.
Here's me just emailing this guy a couple of months ago, and then and it's just
it just happens.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But there are also some really cool things, and it's not all to be
Yeah, there's never doom and gloom. You definitely
get
to see some wild places.
Get to see some very cool stuff. Yeah,
it's pretty solid.
Yeah. Well, look, I appreciate you sitting down for so long.
No much, man.
Chat with me and bugging your little brain
about.
And I definitely need to educate myself more on the avalanche stuff.
Oh, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, just always keep some luck in that bucket.
I know.